Okay, Richart, if you can tell me, please, what first gave you the idea of building a bottle island?
Yeah, it was after a lot of soul searching and reading of the Bible, studying the Bible
Really?
with various modern day religions like the Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, charismatic Christians, and then I read a lot on Buddhism and did some meditations, and the prophecies in the Bible are really clear about the destruction of the actual tectonic plates. It would be what I would term global meltdown if that actually happened. Everything would melt back into the lava. If we crack it up, and what with taking all the oil out, most of the oil out more all the time, and we have the atomic bombs to crack the crust as well. Plus, now that the ice is melting, it's putting more pressure on the ocean, and that shifts the tectonic plates a bit faster. That's why we're getting more tsunamis and the likes of that, there's cracks appearing in Yellowstone Park. There's a big open fissure coming there.
That's where the super volcano is, isn't it?
Right. There's like flat. It's flat, but it's kind of open, ish. And anyway, I'm also, from the scriptures, it's quite clear that it's not inevitable. It's something that I believe in extraterrestrial, beneficial, benevolent beings. I call them angelians.
Angelians.
Yeah.
Somewhere between angels and aliens.
Angelic aliens,
right.
Yeah. And so, at that time, I was living in Germany, and I decided to go to the bottom of our garden at the time at night, and I was looking up at the stars and kind of fervently and continuously in a kind of meditational, affirmational, repetitive mantra, asking over and over again for, like, sending out the beep, beep, beep through the internet of the mind can also work like that, and there could be beings that pick that up for sure. And I was asking this specific question for confirmation of the existence of benevolent extraterrestrial beings, so what you hear about in the Bible. Is there a group that are coherently working together, and do they care about us? And about a month after that prayer, meditation, I was walking across a meadow, getting to work. I was working in a kitchen factory on a conveyor belt. So I only know like two guys and the boss. One that end of there, and then the kitchen units would come in and screw the doors on. And I was walking across a field to get the shortcut by foot from where I was living, and in the early afternoon for late shift. So I heard this strange sound when I was kind of in the middle of the really strange, like weird whirring electrical wind sound. And it came from behind, really softer than what I was trying to imitate there. And it got louder, and I looked above, and sure enough, there was a circular spaceship right above my head. Estimating a couple of 100 feet, that's all. And probably approximately 30 meters in diameter, something like that, a reconnaissance ship, should I say. Trippy, we were very like a trip, actually. In fact, I doubted myself straight away because it flew away, and I was thinking, damn, I just imagined that, or what, have I just, because I want to believe kind of thing. I went to work, told the two German guys, my German was pretty good because I've been there for a while and I was learning, and clearly explained what I saw. Both of them were kind of surprised, and the next day when I went in at the same time, the next day, one of those German friends almost was running towards me, eager to tell me something. And he told me that the day before, when I told him, he went home and he was listening to the FM radio back then. It was the mid-late 70s, and there was people calling into the show. It was only a small town in the south of Germany, south of Stuttgart, Fulda. If there's anybody German here, they might know that town. And they were having this discussion about other people had called in and talking about it. that they'd saw a spaceship on that very day when I had. So I got the confirmation back from the German friend, because I started to doubt myself, thinking I was just imagining it. Because it was like a 3 to 4 second experience, but really ethereal as well. And later on I started to think about, well, why could they make themselves invisible, and because they wouldn't want everybody to see them and things like that. And then I realized it did actually look like a television set or a computer screen turned off. So they could definitely have that as a whole screen with cameras photographing the sky and putting it on the bottom, cameras photographing the ground and putting it on the top, and the sound wasn't really that loud. There was not a lot of, I mean, it was a quiet field. So I didn't have, there was no cars nearby, and so obviously I heard that sound, but it wasn't loud. It was all quite ethereal, and so, but also very clear. So that, I just came away with it thinking, just wondering, you know. But around that time, I think it was after, or it might have been before, but I was sat on my balcony, the same place where I was living. And I'm an artist, so I've done some artwork, and I always try to pick a theme that is on ecology, love, respect for the nature, children, animals, things like that, family kind of paintings. And I was pondering either doing a painting or writing a song. I'm writing lyrics for songs as well. I've written some songs. You can find them on YouTube, search Richart singing. I'm just in receptive mode, kind of looking nowhere and everywhere. And boom! It's as if I've been transported spiritually on my mind, and I'm looking down on the ocean. I could have been transported to a spaceship or whatever, or they just sent me a video or whatever. Well, I don't know what it is, but it felt like it was given to me. It was a vision so clear of, I'm looking down on the ocean and I'm seeing an island, beautiful island, and it was covered with all the fruit trees, and people were living on there. And although I couldn't see this part, I knew it was floating on the refuse of the world. And it was just kind of a stunning vision. I was just like, afterwards, just like, wow, that could actually work. Because I know the roots were there, things were growing on them, so it was like you just hold the trash there long enough, with the floating things obviously underneath it, and other layers of different other things that don't float to stop the earth getting through. And I just kind of knew the basic idea was so clear and
simple.
But I didn't think I would really do it. So I just did a drawing of it because I had my pad out. I even knew it had a spiral garden going in. Other details, what we talk about, we haven't talked about yet, the island actually possibly flying, but the spiral garden is actually helping with that. But we have talked about the satellite dish, and that's part of also creating the hot air uplift, mini controllable tornado that you can create in the middle of a floating island if it's big enough, you know. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. There's too much for now. But basically, about 25 to 30 years later, in the mid-90s, I think it was 96, 97, and I come back from travelling around Europe. I park outside my mum's house, and I always visit there when I come back, and I was travelling most years, always in Europe, and I thought, that's it, Europe, I need to go somewhere else, and I thought India. So I checked the flights on the phone from Mum's house. Sure, there was a flight available, and I had enough budget to go for a month and see what happened. If it all went flowed, I would stay there, I would come back, you know. And so I went immediately down to the travel agents that I just called. When I walked in, I told her, and she said, "Oh yeah, you're the guy that just phoned." And she looked upon it, and she said, "Hey, it's nearly double, it almost doubled in price in the space of 10, 15 minutes. And I walked away from there back to Mum's house thinking, that seems like it's definitely not on. I couldn't do it, I didn't have the money for that. And I thought, well, where? And I had no idea, but I knew I didn't want to go to Europe. So I decided to say a prayer. I basically walked in to my mum's house, and at that time I remember walking across the room and just like metaphorically looking through the ceiling to the whole universe and just saying, universal goodness and wisdom and truth and love, just guide me. I want to do the best that I possibly can for the rest of my life. And guide me and tell me, show me, give me a sign as to what I should do. Because now I know that there is life out there. I felt I did because of that, what had happened before that. And I had a lot of other experiences that I can't really tell right now that have confirmed it over the years more and more. And so after that prayer, about a week passed, and I'd been out again and walked back in the house, and Mum was on the phone, and she was looking confused, and she said, San Francisco? I've never been to San Francisco. And then she looked at me, and the person must have said something, and she said, oh, it's for you. So someone had called from San Francisco, and I was just visiting Mum's place, and I'd met them on the road years before, never had any other contact. I'd given them a little slip of paper, and they were actually on holiday and had the slip of paper in the bag with them by coincidence, because they got my name. Basically, they just remembered me on holiday in San Francisco. They were living in Brighton, that's where I met them, and they just could not get me out of their mind. Over and over again, just started to do something else, and I'd come back in their mind. So eventually, they found the number and called and invited me to San Francisco, because then by that time I said, well, I've just prayed, asking for some guidance as to where to go, and nobody's ever called me from another country and said, come here, ever, before or later, just out of the blue like that. And a person I didn't really even know. But I remember when we first met, we were talking about spiritual things. We both shared a faith in that possibility, of guidance and kind of more wisdom. And so I was there for a while. They went back to England, and I decided to drop down to Mexico. I got to Mexico City, and I started singing in the street. I was on a low budget, and I always like to do that anyway. And so at the end of one day when I'm singing, a Mexican couple with 2 young children stopped, gave me some money for Let It Be or Imagine or whatever I was singing, and then just beckoned me very nicely, please kindly come with us. They were a very nice couple, they had 2 lovely children, and they took me back to the car. But I was like, whoa, this is a sign, something's going on. And I couldn't speak much Spanish at the time, so I just went with them kind of silently, got in the car. It's coming to the end of the afternoon, early evening now, and they drive me right out of the city. Mexico City is massive. So it was quite a drive. On the outskirts of Mexico City exist, to this day, floating islands.
What makes them float?
Reeds growing on the side of these lakes. So there's 2 places on the planet that I know of, and you can look it up online, you probably won't find anywhere else, where they're called chinampas. And the Aztecs are the ones that have been doing it for thousands of years, and they grow things on
So it's not
freshwater
a
lakes.
new idea then, it's...
No, it's not a new
an ancient
idea,
one.
but I had no idea of the existence of other people doing floating islands. And the
Incredible.
other ones, they're the more well known, is on Lake Titicaca in Peru, up in the plateau there. And there's a lot of floating islands there, yeah, the same name, same type of floating island. But for strangers to take me, a person who had a vision of floating island, I don't know whether anybody else has just been, any stranger's been taken by strangers to see floating islands. It might never have happened on this planet ever before.
But now it needs to
But
again.
I'm the one that had the actual vision, do you see what I mean? So
But it's at a time where that kind of thing is needed once again.
I think so. So I think for this little video right now, that's enough to begin that explanation. I went back to my hotel, and I was thinking about going to Costa Rica, so I started packing up a day or so after. And I brought a book with me that I'd written bits of songs and some drawings and ideas in. And as I'm putting it in my bag to pack things up, I was traveling very light, this journal kind of book that I had opened up exactly on the page where I'd done the drawing of that floating island. I didn't know which pack it was in. It was like, when I came away from England, I just thought, oh, this is cool, take one of these, because there was still some pages in it and that, to do things on. And so when I saw that drawing, and it wasn't long after there was the strangers take yourself long hands, you know, that's when I knew that there was something seriously going on. I was getting signs to actually do it.
Excellent. That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Richard.
It's